Okay, 1.5 is called circles. The standard form of an equation of a circle with radius r and center hk is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared. So suppose that we have a circle of a radius 3 and the center point is located at the point -1, 2. The equation of the circle is written as x plus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 3 squared is 9. And here's the center point, -1, 2, along with 4 points around the center, creating the circle using a radius of 3. If I want to, I could find the x-intercepts and y-intercepts, and I've done that. So to find the x-intercepts, I'll let y be 0, and 0 minus 2 squared is 4. Subtract 4 from both sides. X plus 1 squared equals 5. Take the square root of both sides. X plus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 5. So x is equal to -1 plus or minus the square root of 5. X is approximately 1.24 or approximately -3.24. So here's approximately -3.24 and approximately 1.24. The y-intercepts are found by letting x be 0, and when x is 0, we get 0 plus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 9. 1 squared is 1, subtract 1 from both sides, y minus 2 squared equals 8. Y minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 8. So y equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 8. Y is equal to 4.83, and y is equal to -0.83. Okay, so here's 4.83, and here's -0.83. In this section, we talk a little bit about completing the square. And so here's one example. Suppose I have x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. I can check this by factoring. X minus 1 times x plus 5 should do it. X minus 1 times x plus 5. And now, as far as completing the square goes, there's a particular procedure that you want to follow. Step 1 is to get a 1 in front of x squared. We've already got that. Step 2 is to get to bring the constant over to the right. Bring the 5 over to the right. Okay, so now step 3, and by the way, I have not done any completing the square in the first 2 steps. Okay, I'm all set up to complete the square now at this point. And so how I actually complete the square is I want to take half of the number in front of x squared, and I want to add that new number to both sides. Half the number in front of x squared, and I want to add that new number to both sides. So in this case, I've got a 4 in front of x. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. And 4 is the number that I need to add to both sides. Okay, now the reason for doing that is because the left side will always factor, and the factors will always be the same. X squared plus 4x plus 4 factors as x plus 2 times x plus 2, or x plus 2 squared. And that's equal to 9. Okay, x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus 3, and so x is equal to -2 plus or minus 3. And -2 plus 3 is 1. -2 minus 3 is -5. So x equals 1 and x equals -5 would be the 2 solutions to that equation. Second problem is y equals 2x minus 3x minus 1 equals 0. So 2x squared minus 3x minus 1 equals 0. I can subtract 2x from both sides, and I can divide by 2 on both sides. Subtract 2 from both sides, or divide by 2 on both sides. So I get x squared minus 3 halves x minus 1 half equals 0. And when I bring the constant over to the right, I get x squared minus 3 halves equals 1 half. Okay, now I want half of the number in front of x squared, and I want to add that new number to both sides. Okay, so half of negative 3 halves is negative 3 fourths. Negative 3 fourths squared. Okay, well, negative 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. So I get 9/16. I'm going to add to both sides. X squared minus 3 halves x plus 9/16 equals 1 half plus 9/16. Now the reason for doing that, because that's kind of a strange thing to do, is because the left side is always going to factor, and the factors are always the same. So how this factors is x minus 3/4 squared equals 1 half. That's the same as, let's see here, 8 over 16. 8 over 16 plus 9 over 16 is 17 over 16. Okay, now, by the way, a hint for factoring, it will always include the number that you are squaring on each step to the line right above. That will always be the case. So x minus 3/4, well, I'm squaring negative 3/4 to get this 9/16. Okay, that is the case. So because I'm squaring negative 3/4 to get 9/16, I'm going to have minus 3/4 here in the two factors. That will always be the same. Take the square root of both sides. X minus 3/4 equals plus or minus the square root of 17 over 4. And add 3/4 to both sides. X equals 3 plus or minus square root of 17 all over 4. Okay, now the reason why I was asking about factoring, and I wasn't getting very far, was because this guy up here factors as x minus 3 plus the square root of 17 all over 4, and x minus 3 minus square root of 17 all over 4. So those are not nice whole number of values. And so, yeah, that's the reason why we're not able to factor. In general, you want to consider factoring to see if you already know the answer. In the case of completing the square ahead of time, and like over here on this example, like I could very easily factor and get x equal 1 and x equal negative 5. Well, but they're not asking me to factor, though. Okay, they're asking me to complete the square. Now I can check by factoring. Okay, that's be recommended. But this is not a factoring problem. Okay, neither is this one. Okay, I'm using completing the square. Now, the reason for completing the square is because when you have a circle in what's called general form, and you want to graph, you're going to complete the square twice. Okay, so let's graph the circle x squared plus y squared minus 8x plus 8y plus 13 equals 0. Okay, this has all been written in what's called general form, and I want to rewrite this into standard form. Okay, I'm going to group the x's together and then the y's together. I'm also going to bring the constant over to the right. So I've done that. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to complete the square twice. One for the x's and one for the y's. Okay? So I got a 1 in front of x squared and a 1 in front of y squared. That will always be the case, by the way, whenever you're completing the square. Needing to get that term in front of the squared factor. So we want to take half of the number in front of x squared. Half of negative 8 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is plus 16. And I'm going to have a plus 16 on the right. Half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So all in all, when it comes to negative 13, I'm going to be adding 16 and adding 1. Well, negative 13 plus 16 plus 1 gives me 4 on the right. Now the reason for completing the square is because both of these are going to factor, and the factors are going to be the same. Okay, that will always happen, by the way. So the first one factors as x minus 4 times x minus 4 squared. And the second one is y plus 1 times y plus 1, or y plus 1 squared, equals 4. Note how that it's 4 and 1, because half of negative 8 is 4, half of 2 is 1. Okay? So now that I've rewritten this equation in general form into a standard form, I can identify the center and the radius. The center, hk, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared, is the form I want. So it looks like h is 4 and k is negative 1. R is 2. 2 squared is 4. So having identified the center and the radius, I can graph the circle now. The center is located at 4 and negative 1, right here. And then using the radius of 2, I can build 4 points around the center and draw in the circle. Okay, so the homework is on page 50, and be sure to look at the problems there for me when you get a chance.